Oh hey, this is Trav. Today we're going to be talking about Dutch oven cooking right here in the great outdoors. Up until recently I used to cook in the Dutch oven just like this. I'd put the oven on the ground, stack them on top of each other, and I found that the weight of the ovens would pinch and smother my wood coals or my briquettes here on the bottom. It wouldn't cook as well as I'd wanted. So recently, my friend Ben helped me out. He took a piece of I-beam, cut it to length, and welded it on right here, forming a kind of tray. So I'm using a metal tray, but you could use anything. You could use a cookie sheet. You could use a piece of corrugated metal. Just something to hold the Dutch oven up off the ground and allow oxygen to get to your heat source. Most of the time, you can just cook on the ground. On the hard packed earth is just fine. Don't, however, cook with a Dutch oven on the concrete. My brother did that one time and the concrete started popping. So no, it's not a good idea to cook in the Dutch oven on your concrete patio. So what I like to do is get to a spot where I'm gonna cook, and this is a nice sandy river bottom here in this cottonwood willow gallery. And take your shovel if you need and work the ground until it's level enough that just put that base right there. And if I'm cooking a lot of Dutch ovens, well, I've got two of these things, so we might as well use them both. I'll put the second one right there. I'm gonna fill this most of the way up with briquettes. We're cooking with quite a few ovens today. And I may have to do this 2 or 3 times throughout the afternoon as we cook. Well, there's my briquettes. You can see them stacked up in this can, this briquette starter. I don't need one of these chimney-style briquette starters to cook with the Dutch oven. I use this in my video. It's got holes on the bottom, and you can see holes through the center of it to allow the heat to pass from the burning newspaper to light our briquettes. But I don't have to have one of these. I got this a few years back. Before that, I simply poured out a pile of briquettes on the ground, touched a match to them, if they're the match light. I've used a lot of different brands to try to save money, and I found that these are the best. Plain and simple, Kingsford briquettes are the best. Otherwise, you bring a can of lighter fluid, and you just squeeze that onto your briquettes and touch a match to them and let them go on the ground. After about 10 minutes or so, you'll be able to feel the heat coming off of them, and all you have to do is dump them out, and once you see some white edges on the briquettes, you'll know you're ready to start cooking. Oh boy, that's ready to go. We'll get our potatoes over here on the briquettes. I used to do Dutch oven cooking with just a shovel, and you can do that, but a pair of tongs sure makes it a lot easier. I'm gonna go ahead and dump out some briquettes onto one of these bases. See those nice white edges? I don't know if you can see that there. There's one. That's a briquette that's really going nicely. Rule of thumb is, if this is a 12-inch Dutch oven, 12 briquettes underneath and 12 on top. And that would be 350 degrees with 12 briquettes top and bottom. So when it comes to cooking, if it takes 45 minutes to cook something at home, it's gonna be about that time out in the field. An hour and a half, plan on the same amount of time. So how do I know my food is done? That's a great question. I take the lid off and look. You can put a thermometer in there to check. You can often tell by looking, poke it with a fork. If it's not done, simply put the lid back on and put it back on the heat source. Sometimes in the wind that can affect your cooking. It can blow your coals out quicker. I've dug a hole in the ground before and stacked my ovens. The hole will prevent the wind from blowing my coals out as quickly. For a 14 like this big one here, we'd put 14 briquettes top and bottom. That's not always the case. When I do breads and brownies and things like that, a lot of times I put more heat on the surface than underneath because we don't want to burn the bottom. Things that are sweet are a lot easier to burn. These Dutch ovens are incredibly forgiving. They're cast iron. The heat really spreads evenly, and it's quite difficult actually to burn something in a Dutch oven unless you just neglect it. I love to cook with wood coals. as well. But sometimes you don't have a fire going for long enough to be able to scoop out the coals. That takes some time. Today we're just cooking with briquettes, which is also great. Briquettes get really hot, they last a long time. You don't have to have a raging fire. So if you're cooking with the Dutch oven in the summertime, you don't have to have a big fire. You can just use these briquettes. See how those are going so well down in there? I'm gonna add just a few more. Get these briquettes hot while we're preparing our chicken. If you can cook in the oven at home, you can cook in the Dutch oven. Anything you can make in the regular oven, you can cook in a Dutch oven. You name it. We've even done brownies. So this bread right here, we're gonna take over and put it in the coals. Set this bread right on that. Stacking them up here. Look how nice that is. The heat's transferring all the way up. We're being efficient with our briquettes. I can also reach in here with my tongs and lay a few briquettes on top. With the bread, I like to have more briquettes on top than the bottom so it doesn't burn. But this Irish soda bread's got quite a bit of moisture in there. I think we're gonna be a-okay. Well, just like you're cooking at home or baking in the oven, you want to time it so everything finishes up right at the same time. So with the Dutch ovens, I put them on in the order that it takes to cook. We want to take them all off the heat about the same time, so we're eating them all at once. When you're cooking in these cast iron Dutch ovens, as I said before, they're pretty forgiving. The heat spreads evenly in the cast iron. However, from time to time, it's a good idea to rotate your oven. That way, if there's a hot spot, it's not gonna burn your food in that location. Here's what I mean by that. Let's go ahead and lift off this cobbler. The Irish soda bread. The potatoes. And get right down here to our chicken. Let's just pick that up and turn that 90 degrees or so, maybe 180. Just, you're turning your oven so it's not sitting on the same spots. And if need be, say the bottom of this one's looking a little bit scarce for briquettes, which it is, then let's go ahead and add a few more. We'll just put some of these right on those old briquettes and they'll take off. No problem at all. This is the best lid lifter I've ever found. It's a Dutch oven lid lifter, and it's made by Mair, M-A-I-R, and they're come out of Midway, Utah. What's nice about this is I can lift up a Dutch oven, move it around, turn it like we need to. I can also, when the time's right, pick up my lid and lift it off without any of the briquettes spilling. That's a good thing to do to be able to check your food and see how it's looking. One of the beauties of Dutch oven cooking is that time slows down. You can't be in a hurry. Put your food in the Dutch oven, go out and catch a few fish, shoot a few doves, maybe just sit around and enjoy being in camp, listening to the wind through the cottonwood trees, the birds as they're singing. There's no rush in good Dutch oven food. Let's look and see how they're cooking. Here's our potatoes that have been on the longest. Let's see how they're looking. Wind's blowing this way, so I'm gonna move the lid that way. Don't blow ash in there. Oh boy, those are looking great. In fact, those are done. Check the chicken. Oh, mercy. That looks good. That chicken is done. Let's take a look at our Irish soda bread. Oh man, that Irish soda bread is beautiful. That is done. Ooh, that cobbler is looking good. Just a little more time and it'll be ready. Let's take a look at our pot of beans here. Man, And look at them, they're bubbling and looking great. Just a little more time.
Not bad at all.
Good stuff.